Afternoon, role players. This is Antonia Sibh'Bae. I am here to speak to you about freedom. Freedom to choose. Choose who your friends are. Choose your alliances, even if they don't align with mine. That is what I can give you if I am your leader. Choice. Choice to believe in the good in people. Choice to believe in the best. Vote Antonia Sibh'Bae. Thank you. My name is Antonia, and I approve this message.
This is RPMMORadio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about roleplay and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job.
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Sibh'Bae, and Kishmas.
Everybody f***ed off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players. Welcome to RPMMORadio. This is our 65th episode. Let's take it from the top. It was a dramatic pause. I was reading. You wouldn't know drama, Jazz. I have had untold weeks of drama 1 back in the 11th grade. Or maybe it was the 12th grade. And I was very good at it. So, as an artiste, as a thespian, which is the T in LGBT, that is how
Say what, son?
Yeah, that's how that works, right? That's the T, LGBT.
I don't think that's what it means,
I don't
bro.
think so.
Lesbian, gay, bi, and thespians. Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure I'm right, but as a
I'm
straight man,
sure
I'm going to have to mansplain this to the bisexual.
Okay, we go for that.
Because it always works out so well for everybody. Oh, shit. Welcome to the show, everybody. Appreciate you tuning into RPMMORadio. If you're listening to us live, we do it every Saturday, 7 Central Time, over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio, and we appreciate every single one of you that does watch us live and over at the podcast. If you want to follow us, subscribe, and all that good stuff over at Twitch, we do appreciate it. We, of course, are a podcast, and we're available over at Apple Podcast or iTunes, whatever, the ghost of Steve Jobs tells them to call it today. And if for those of you, which is quite a few that do listen to it over on there, if you would like to give us a review or a 5-star rating, or both, or a 1-star rating, honestly, if you hate the show, but go ahead and let people know about it, because if there's nothing else you should do with the internet, it's let people know that you hate something. I'm pretty sure that's why Al Gore invented it.
I have a theory. They have Steve Jobs' head hooked up to a little device. They keep him alive, and they call it the iSteve.
Well, actually, the problem with that is you're partly right, but they actually piggybacked it off the Disney technology of keeping Walt Disney's head alive.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they're in jars next to each other, and they advance ideas back and forth, kind of like that documentary Futurama. With the Hall of Heads. We've only got the 2 right now, unlike the Futurama, which of course is a documentary from the future, hence its name. But yeah, it's a very real possibility. Yeah. Anyway.
Science.
Yeah, no, don't be a science denier, guys. Remember, this is a science-based show of imagination and pretend. But yeah, if you're over at iTunes, give us a review. If you like the show, hate the show, honestly, anything that clicks on that and lets people know what you think of it, it helps us out, gets us out there. It avalanches through the entire podcast system in some weird way, because Apple kind of invented the podcast. So, but we would appreciate that. I also want to give a special thanks to all of our Patreon donors, especially those at the the raid boss level, like the Truth Bob. And of course, we are still, and we'll do it until probably we run out of stickers. You want a free promotional sticker thing for $5. See how that works? It's free, but you have to give us $5 or more. I've listened to a lot of politics, and that's how it works. We give our taxes, and somehow magically it goes nowhere, but politicians can spend it, the free money that comes out of nowhere. I mean, largely it comes from China, but that's beside the point. China. So yeah, over at patreon.com/RPMMORadio, $5 or above will get you a sticker. Also get you a fancy little green name in the general chat, which I'm sure you've seen the elite of the elite, like Alice and Cameron Chan, Gangsy Girl, and Scribble MMO. As well, of course, is Travis the Truth Bob. But
it's a pretty exclusive
He's not
group,
logged
man.
in right now. It is,
and you want to be in it.
It is, and the great thing about them is every one of them. I think I can guarantee this. The lawyers will contact me if we can't. Every Patreon donor to RPMM Radio actually gets 15% more sexy.
It's true.
It is true, yeah. I mean, all of us here were train wrecks, but the second we started the show, because we're hosts, we got 17% more sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings most of us up to 17%.
That's the truth.
Sadness.
I'll let you guys figure out which one's which. Strafe, I'm calling you out. It's you.
Sad face.
Oh, it's okay. Your mom thinks you're pretty.
You sure about that?
Unless you don't call her and wish her happy birthday.
Which, by the way, happy birthday to Mama Strafe.
Mama
yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
For the fourth time.
And also let it be known that Wakachoto is the good son, because he got to her first and informed his older sibling, who shall not be named Strafe, to wish his mother a happy birthday.
See, you're perpetuating false narrative, sir. This is fake news. This is all fake news, because I clearly got a hold of her first and early. She knows this, but she plays this game of nobody called me today, and then Seth went on a crusade.
See, well, you could have played this part back for her right up until there, so you're gonna make sure you have to stop the tape early.
No, she'll enjoy all of this trolling because she spawned it.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, well, I mean, just don't take her out to any Saudi embassies. That's all I'm saying. That's probably don't do that. Definitely don't buy her luggage, for the love of God. Don't do that. That doesn't end well for anybody involved. Just saying.
See, she's driving to my place.
There was much rejoicing
for Thanksgiving, and then I'm driving her to my brother's place, the guy no one can get a hold of. So
yeah,
who's really the good son here when the other guy can't get a day of leave? I'm just saying.
Probably me over you still, just because I was the one that had to help inform, with Wakachoto's help, you. So,
yeah, but see, you just did to jack me on the show.
No, this is purely for Mama Strafe.
Clearly, Jazz is the best daughter because she's the one that got up my backside the day of, in text, in voice, in message, everything you can freaking imagine.
I did too. I sent him Discord. I sent him a text, several texts.
I'm watching Michael Myers take out these idiots, and suddenly my phone
his phone's like,
what the crap is going on here?
Was it at a scary moment, so it was extra scary?
No.
No, well,
but
and also thank you, Yunfei, for the Twitch Prime subscription. You the best.
You the best.
Yay, Yunfei.
All those that donate are the best.
Yunfei. Between you and Sib, she's got 15 different names.
Did you hear that? You and Jazz. Oh my gosh.
Take it away, Sibs. Take it away.
Anyway, the other one I actually want to give a quick shout out to. I'm with Jay. Jay, thanks for listening. You've been he's been listening to the show over at WordPress, which is another place you can get the show, and liking a lot of episodes. So I always see those when they come up individually because it's the only place that actually lets me know shit for whatever reason. So appreciate he's going through it backwards. I've noticed. Because it lets me know each individual one. And that isn't, of course, he's been called out now, and he's going to be like, oh, now I'm creeped out. It's okay. It's okay, Jay. It's all right. your house looks very nice from the inside.
You don't got to take that kind of abuse, Jay.
So, all right. Well, everybody having a good week. Staying sexy, all that stuff.
Not really.
It's been a week. That's
It's definitely been a week.
Mm-hmm. I'm with them. It's been a week.
It has been a week. It's been a week of weekly weekings that weeked the weekly week. So, let's go. Well, I guess we should probably see what we've been doing in roleplay. I was going to have Jazz go first. I think I'm going to stick with that plan.
Yeah. Shocked, really.
Well, I mean, I had thought of toying with it and like making a big production and some sort of a joke out of it, but really the joke's getting kind of stale. We're getting towards the end of the year. You didn't write anything down.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, none of us did. None of us did.
Yeah.
But there's a good reason for that.
Yeah, I didn't do much. Primarily, the only thing that I've been doing in roleplay really is focusing on the Telvanni and Alanu RP. I've pretty much retired Zasher, at least for now. He transferred, and nobody said anything, so I'm assuming that's fine. To another temple, and he'll be focusing on that at least for now while he recovers, because he was really... it took him... The poison thing really kind of messed him up, so he's being nursed back to health, and it's going to be a while before he can go back to training again. So he's kind of been retired, at least for now. Cial, I don't usually get a lot of RP on her anymore. Not really sure why. I go to Rift on her usually. But I've been trying lately to go more to Rift on Kia, who is my guild leader for Alanu, and Sully, who is the magister for Telvanni within Alanu. And so my usual slot for role-playing with Cial is gone. So, so I have been primarily role-playing on Kia and Sully these last couple weeks as we're trying to build our population up again, and we've gotten a handful of new recruits and on both Alanu and in Telvanni, so that's good. Yay!
Yeah.
I'm really positive about that because it's always one of those things you have to go out and be seen, and you have to actively look for people if you want people to join. So I had slacked off in that myself, so had everyone else, and I think we were all just kind of coasting for a little while, and it showed because we didn't have a lot of new people. So we're back to actively fishing. Trolling's the bad word. Fishing for new members, and we found them, and things have been a lot of fun. So on Sully, the Telvanni RP's really been the only actual, what I would consider harder core RP that actually is taking place. Sully is making friends and kind of grooming several people for a possible mouth position in the future. Because she's, a lot like Vodka in that sense. She can be very, what's the word? Sneaky's the wrong word.
Vindictive?
Oh.
No. Good Lord, you guys.
I can go on forever. I'm just saying.
She just thinks way ahead, and she starts grooming and talking and being casually manipulative, I suppose, to get them onto her side.
Casually manipulative. Listen to this.
Casually manipulative, yes. So Sully is very much like Waka in that department. So it's been a lot of fun, and you know how well I love sneaky, thoughtful, manipulative stuff. It's a lot of fun. Elves are really good at it, so that's been probably the only real thing that I've been doing. I miss Zasher RP a lot, but there's nothing to be done about that. There just wasn't any place for him, and I did get to move his story forward a little bit, which is kind of secret, so I can't really talk about it yet. But his backstory has gone forward a little bit. So, but he is still obviously on the side burner until I either find some RP for him or, I guess maybe bring him into Alanu eventually if he can ever stomach Nwas.
Yeah, well,
I didn't write him for that.
We've
so
not been
really
around
surprised.
for almost 2 weeks, so you don't have work. There's two people you usually roleplay with. Just out and about.
The only people that really have ever wanted to actively RP with my character in Servants have been you guys. Mm-hmm. So with all three of you, kind of taking, because of life and everything else, haven't been on your characters in Servant, they're with my RP. So,
yeah.
However, I did have a meeting on Sully with Maris, who is in the Servants, about a connection between the Talvani and the Servants Temple, or Alanu on some level. Although,
run fast, run hard, don't stop.
Sully did point out you are aware they're mostly Enwa.
Yeah.
That's not what you're thinking. And she kept referring to Sully's minions and people as family, which she does consider the Alanu part of her family, but she knows that's not what they mean.
Yeah.
She was very careful to word things accordingly. And I got to meet Maris's mother, I believe. And so it was very nice. It was very interesting. And they want to talk about a charity event with Alanu or Telvanni.
Yeah.
Whichever war. And I'm okay with that because I really would like to see our branch of Telvanni kind of move into the main community of people who are RPing great houses. So that made me happy because that means maybe we're starting to kind of be recognized as a Telvanni house, which would be really nice. So
you got to meet Mother walks on her knees, huh?
Yes, and she was very different than you would, because she was in this situation. She was the daughter with her mother, and that's a very different Maris than probably Zasher wouldn't even recognize her.
Yeah.
So, but of course, Sully's only seen Maris on her own or in this situation. So to her, she was just a good daughter. So yeah, it was very interesting RP, and I'm very pleased that it has come forward, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
we'll see where it goes. It was interesting.
Yes. What about you, Sibh'Bae?
It's like I said, it's been a week.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry Hour, we had a full house again. We had the same issue of same three people reading poetry and no one else being too fraidy pants to get up there.
Yeah. But
it was nice. I kind of cut out early. Actually, no, I didn't. Traff noticed Sully cutting out early, so he told Ericus, watch the bar. Which was his bard. He snuck out. He caught Sully out here by his reflection pool, and he's like, everything all right with you? You seem kind of out of it. She then proceeded to tell him, I just need some air. Wouldn't mind having a good friend to chat with. In which she then proceeded to drop an atomic nuclear warhead on Trath. Which is going to alter a lot of story arcs, which is good.
What was it?
I don't think I can say.
Oh, you guys are terrible at this.
But suffice to say, it went back to backstory when they were of their time in the Legion. And she said, do you remember this time after we got off the surviving the road out of the Reach, and when we almost all died? Trath's like, yes, I remember it every night. I just weather better than most. She said, yes, well, do you remember after the fact where I got sent off to Officer Corps for recovery? He said, yeah. She pretty much said that Trath had a daughter he didn't know about.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dropped it in his pants, and dropped it right in his head, and he was like, oh, Lord.
Well, it's something that was involved with his pants, apparently.
I mean, Well, back then, they kind of had a twist. So that made things quite interesting.
Yeah.
And then she told me what the deal was. If your characters are in game, it'll probably get spread to those who need to know. Other than that, it's got to be this epic secret, otherwise it'll ruin several lives.
Man.
And then I looked at Jazz OC and I was like, Days of Armor, no less. Here we go.
Eduardo Telemundo.
And of course, I gave him the right to say no. I mean, this was a big shift from what we had originally kind of come up with, but it was something I always knew. I had no intention of ever telling anyone about this particular
Sure, she
story
didn't.
arc. But
see, with Jazz, she likes dropping nuclear warheads on you and see how you react. And you're totally allowed to say no, but it was so juicy and it fit so well with a lot of backstory. I was like, it's too good to say no. So it was a nice surprise. It'll be entertaining to see how it plays out. Other than that, I wasn't feeling so hot Thursday. I didn't even go to. I was supposed to have a show tune dance with Eric as his character, Stranrick, which got postponed to next Thursday. So if you're in the Alnu Guild Hall, you'll see a nice show with Rufus and Stranrick. But other than that, it's just been dead action for me.
Yeah. It's we've been in the same boat. We've actually I've been in kind of a funk for a while anyway. But are you sure you're good with this, Sib?
I'm okay.
Okay. But we have not barely been role playing at all for the last 2 weeks, where our motivation is just completely gone. Unfortunately, we about 2 weeks ago Monday we lost Sib's dad at age of 65 unexpectedly. So we've pretty much just been dealing and helping each other out and helping family out and spending real life time, watching TV shows together. And I mean, I know when we're playing games, we often play together, but there's a difference of spending time side by side on a couch than, at two separate computer monitors staring at a screen. I mean, given we're still staring at a screen, but we're staring at the same screen, and it gives us togetherness. But yeah, it was really hard. It was been really rough on everybody. So we've just been kind of a funk, and it's understandable. Everyone's been super kind and very very understanding, obviously. So we appreciate all those that do. But because of that, we've, like I said, we just it takes so much. I mean, really, it's just role play, but it does take so much mental energy that, and I know me, I don't want someone to say something stupid, and because I'm raw and on edge and sleepy and stuff like that I don't want to snap at people. I don't want to start stuff that shouldn't be started if I was in a correct frame of mind. And I know Sib's been in a lot of the same ways, and we've been getting ready for stuff that'll happen at the end of November, so as well with a surgery thing, but it'll be a good benefit thing, but it still has to be done. It doesn't have to be done, but it's going to be done because it kind of has to be done, but it doesn't really have to be done.
Ashton, are you finally getting that giant wart off the middle of your
no, I'm actually going to finally make the transition to dolphin. I'm going to be...
I knew it was one or the other.
Yeah, I'm going to actually get that fin implant between my shoulder blades.
So I can finally call you Echo the Xanus?
Well, I've actually I will say, I think I might actually go for Megalodon. We've been reading the Meg books after the movie. Which, by the way, for those of you that saw the Meg, that's based on a 6-book series that's actually pretty good.
It's really good.
So I'm thinking I'm actually going to go Megalodon. The easy part so far for me isn't the fins is the surgical part, but the easiest part for me is getting up to the 65 tons. That so far has been the easier part for me. I'm well on my way. Yeah. The getting to 65 feet long is a little bit difficult, but get the tonnage on there's not too bad.
Tiny
Don't
step.
stop believing.
That's right. But so yeah, I'm going to be a Megalodon. That's what I want. That's what I've always dreamed of being up until the last 2 months, and when I finally realized that would be really neat.
I had a feeling.
But
congratulations.
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of single player games and stuff like that. I beat Dragon Quest 11, beat Spider-Man on PlayStation 4, playing through Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game I think since 3, the one with the Indian guy when it was taking place in the American colonies.
The colonies, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That was Connor.
One. Yeah, Connor. So whichever
that was
one
my favorite, but yeah.
Yeah, I never finished it. That's the thing. I've played several of the original ones, but I never finished a single one. I had fun with them, and then I just wandered off because they go on forever.
They do, and I had way too much fun taking out red codes. Way too much fun.
But yeah, it's been enjoyable. I've got a backlog of a lot of really good games. I've been playing. Oh, I also played through Uncharted, The Lost something, whichever the one was with the 2 chicks with the really hot girl from the original Riddick movie, Pitch Black. the dark-haired one. She was also
Yeah.
in Farscape and the later seasons of SG-1, Stargate. Claudia Black, I think, but she's the voice actress from that. But Lost Legacy, that was it. I beat through that. That was really fun. Love those games. Can't wait for Red Dead Redemption 2. That's coming out, and then I don't know if I'm going to get any roleplay done after that either. It's going to be rough, but yeah. Also, I know this has nothing to do with roleplay, but if you want to know how to put together a good, scary narrative that doesn't rely on jump scares, watch Netflix's Haunting on Hill House.
That show is amazing. Yes,
We're not finished with it yet, so no, there's not going to be any spoilers, but it's legitimately made me jump a couple times and really, really like mentally freak me out. I don't jump at anything hardly at all, but like the times I jumped, it wasn't even a jump scare, like a cheesy kind of thing. It was just something so unexpected on the screen that, I mean, I knew something was coming, but it was what it was still got me so much. I literally like shook.
Yeah, that's a great show, by the way.
Yeah, it is. If you don't like scary stuff like jazz, do not watch it. It will mess with your head because it is. They really know how to, it jumps back and forth between their time in the house and when they're older adults. So, but the way they weave that whole narrative together, and the weirdest part of it is the dad, the young version of the dad is Elliot from E.T.
I know,
right?
It freaked me out. I kept looking, and going, "Dude, that looks like Elliot."
Right. Does he not have the freakiest blue eyes ever?
Hey man,
like there's something about
you
his
have a symbiotic relationship with an aliens, and you get perks at some point.
I guess, but his eyes, there's something about them. They're just so friggin' blue. They look fake. It's like they look like CGI blue eyes. It's weird. But yeah, it's a fantastic show. I think we've been watched through 6 or 7 episodes. We don't have very many. It's
okay. He can fix this.
Yeah, but man, it is really good, really, really epic to watch, especially if you like scary stuff. And it's kind of the same thing I had thought, like what people thought with The Walking Dead before it got monotonous. Like, how could you do an ongoing episodic, scary TV? They did a damn good job, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think it's got monotonous, but it's definitely got to the point where, hey, zombies are not
right.
What you should be afraid of. You need to be afraid of other survivors.
Yeah, we've not even finished the last season, let alone the one they're currently on. We kind of just fell off. I think there were some parts that it drug. I mean, come on, do we really need to go to the farm episode, the farm season again? That's oof. Talk about dragging on. That drug on. That was bad. I should have left that.
Farm season.
You would. Oh, which
I thought it was good too.
It is sad to say we did lose Herschel. Like the actual actor passed away too. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, he passed away suddenly, or not suddenly. I guess he had something, but yeah, we lost Herschel. First he was eaten by zombies, then other zombies. I call him Hollywood.
Well, technically he lost his dome from the governor.
That's true.
But yeah.
Yeah, but he was gonna. He was. I really liked. He played a good character too. So
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I've been doing, which has absolutely nothing to do with roleplay. But you can kind of learn through that stuff. I like stuff with a good narrative, and it kind of eventually something will poke in my head that will get me out of my funk. And
I think it feeds the creative process. So yeah, it's good to do that.
Yeah, and it helps. I think I was starting to. I'm not really burnt out on ESO. I was just getting burnt out on some of the roleplay stuff that was going on in ESO. There was the big thing with all the guilds together. They couldn't get along, and it was just disheartening and really annoying. I just wanted to go back to the fun stuff and stop all the egos and smashing together. It got old for me, and it kind of dissuaded me away from it until everything's passed over, and it's not completely passed over, which is why I've still got no real want to participate. So, but that's it for me. It's just, Sib, you got anything? I know not really, but
No, I've tried to log in RP, but I find myself, I'll log in, I'll play for just a little bit, and the next thing I know, I'm wandering around the house. So I'm not here, really.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully everything will calm down and I'll be better and I'll be able to get back to RPing. But right now, it's just doesn't happen. So
it's not in the cards.
Not in the cards. Yeah.
Yeah, and it happens. It happens, whenever anybody out there that's had a big life-changing thing, and family or a friend that was real close, like family, it really can't, like we've said on the show, if you are feeling raw for whatever the reason is, it's best just to step away for a little bit and get yourself collected. Don't push yourself through something that if you really aren't up to it, because if you're hating doing it, that is definitely going to come out on the people around you, and that's you don't want to do that, because it typically it's like I think I've said before, like none of the best decisions are ever come from nobody's ever been angry or raw or sad or anything like that and done something out of emotion and like the next day been like that turned out really well, I'm really glad I flew off the handle like that. Typically it ends in an apology, not a, hey, that worked out great. I'm so glad I shouted at you for, spilling the salt. So, yeah, exactly. But we appreciate everybody's patience. I know our story time for roleplay has been a little lacking, but that's because for half of us, there's been no story.
Real life happens first, man, and you gotta own it.
I didn't actually. I don't think I actually introduced everybody, but we're a little late now. Kishmis, he's not around right now. He's actually kayaking across the Bering Strait. Last I heard, alone. He's all by himself. But he should be back hopefully sometime soon. I
heard he was spotted with his halfling lover. I'm just saying.
Well, I was just saying that the halfling's not been spotted, but it was seen getting into the kayak first, head to crotch. But there may be some shrinkage because that Bering Strait is cold. But yes, so all right, well, anyway, enough of that fun stuff. Let's go ahead and do a word from our sponsor, and we'll get into our main topic. New from Crapco. So, you want to get away from the horrible thing you call life? Screaming kids, disappointed spouse, boss with head slot A firmly planted into ass slot B? Wish you could just start over and be all you wanted to be? Your friends at Crapco are here to help. Introducing the new Character Creator. Just go to crapco.com/character and use our easy and intuitive 1,000-step creator to make your perfect body. Longer legs, stronger hands, a huge throbbing brain. You can adjust every aspect of your new body. You can even have a giant dick and huge boobs. Or both at once. After that, we'll ship your new body to you, and through our patented transference technology, you can actually finally be that person or thing you've always wanted to be. Tell your spouse to piss off. Tell that boss of yours, with looks and feathers like these, you don't need this worthless job. So, go to crapco.com today and start your new life tomorrow. Crapco is not responsible for personality shift, loss of memory, inexplicable hunger of the flesh of humans, Chinese gold farmers, loss of memory, being disowned by family and friends for being a mechanical monstrosity, broken relationship, increased interest in bronies, or loss of memory. Anybody signing up?
No.
But you could have a huge throbbing brain.
No. I already have a huge throbbing brain. Thank you.
That's what she said. You're on mute, woman. Not
sorry.
There you go.
I was on mute, Jazz, not you. I like to mute me.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so somebody could hear me. Okay, I was.
Yeah, Sib was on mute. You got it's.
Am I on mute still?
Yeah, you're still on mute.
I'm not.
You have the weirdest cackle. You really, really do.
He's got a lot of different ones.
I don't know what you're talking about. I remember it differently.
He does remember it differently.
That's right. We all remember it differently. We are all different. We are all the same, but mostly different. All right. So we've actually had this we've had a lot of new listeners and several people that are actually very brand new to roleplay in our Discord chat lately. None of whom I can remember now off the top of my head, because research into such a thing and putting it in the notes would have taken 5 seconds when I wasn't on the air.
And we say, good day, sir.
Good day to you. But so we've had a lot of people, and the problem with coming into roleplay and pointing people to our previous episodes about it was they were a lot of the first episodes, which are basically audio garbage. It sounds like we recorded the entire thing down a well with a microphone at the top, or in a giant tunnel, or Stormy Daniel's vagina. It's just a lot of echo.
Oh Lord,
no. Lot of reverberations, lots of room, that kind of thing. What? Nothing. Okay, well, we're moving on. So, figured we'd go ahead and go over, I know for you long-time role players, this might be a little monotonous, maybe, but, hey, it'll still be entertaining, so you better fucking listen, huh? Listen up. Listen. Sibh'Bae, do it.
listen.
One more.
Listen.
Man's talking. You gotta listen.
That's right. Thank you, Pretend Kishmas. So we're gonna go ahead and hit over, like, if you're like just a brand spanking new to roleplay, this will be your first time. Maybe you've done it in other things, but it is a different beast in MMOs outside of Dungeons and Dragons, and LARP, I guess, is another thing you roleplay in, or whatever it is you and your spouse do in the bedroom. Totally different roleplay than that. I mean, I guess depending if you ERP or not, it could actually kind of have some blending, I guess. Crisscross.
Have to consider mixing at that point.
Well, it's more of that. What do they call it? The Venn diagram. The one with
Venn
the
diagram.
Venn diagram. I don't know, the Venn Diesel diagram. Whatever. Hey, he's a smart man. I don't doubt he invented that. Did you ever see him in Fast and the Furious? He's a brilliant actor.
Oh, Ashton, I worry about you some days.
He
brother.
lives his life a quarter circle at the time. But anyway.
Racing for pink slips.
Hey, he's one of us. I can't make too much fun of him. He is literally one of us. He's a nerd and a role play. He got his job. He got his career in acting. Yep, what Hunter said, in D&D. Like, he would act out his roles in D&D. He's a huge gamer.
Van Diesel got so much cooler in my book after you telling me that, bro.
Oh, you remember Triple X? The movie where he was all tattooed up and he's a badass.
Rocket launcher and all that at the end.
Right. The name on the back, tattooed onto his back, I think it was like Molovin or something like that. That was his D&D character.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's freaking outstanding.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I dig Vin Diesel. People like him and The Rock. Unfortunately, I liked John Cena, and then I saw his new haircut. Now I'm very confused about John Cena.
We still like John Cena.
Are you sure? Because that hair is awful.
We still like John Cena.
All right, we still like John Cena, I guess.
I think she likes John Cena, bro.
He's I have to say, if you've seen him in a movie, he's pretty damn funny.
He is.
He's all right.
I like him.
Yeah.
Of course, Jazz is like him. He's muscles.
Girls
he looks like Zasher in real life.
Oh my god, he does.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem, Jazz. Unlike Zasher, when he has the new haircut he has now, you can kind of see that balding spot on the back of his head. See, it's getting a little thin back there.
I like bald men. Just shave it off and put some oil on it, and you just take your hands and you put the oil on.
On
What
this-
are we talking about?
Look
It
what you
puts
did,
the oil
Ashen.
on the skin, Jazz. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill.
What were we talking about
Put
again?
the oil on its
See,
skin
and that's
it
why she
rubs
likes
it in.
That's why she likes Vin Diesel and The Rock.
Oh God, they are
The
so.
She
oil
got-
on
she's
its
got
skin,
civvies going
and it
now.
rubs
I
it
just want to
in.
lick his scalp. Don't you want to lick his scalp? Am I the only one? I just
No.
want to walk up and lick his scalp. And it's,
That's really
No, because all I can imagine is the little prickles. Like the...
Ooh, yes.
No.
See, Rohanar just shared Vin Diesel's birthday cake in the Discord chat. It is a stack of books that are the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual, all made out of cake.
Yum.
That is outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the picture. That is a really nice setup. That's a nice cake. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice set of...
Muscles.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All right, well... thank you, Uni, for reminding Jazz that this is not the 69th episode yet.
Yeah, too bad.
Uh-huh. Yeah, what a shame. So, for new role players, first off, you got to get over the RPers, the people like Jazz, that are just out there cougaring all over the place.
Give us the
Very
meow.
true.
Give us
I
the,
don't deny that I
give
do
us the
want
roar,
He
Jazz.
said the magic word. You were have to do the thing.
You were
Ow.
That's
compelled
what it is.
to-
I was talking
Ow.
I've lost complete control of the show, haven't I? Yeah.
I mean, you let the cougars loose, bro. Cougar
Oh,
and
man.
the puma. And the puma's sitting next to you, bro. I mean, I'm just saying.
I know. Did you see that? I'm sorry. ADD moment, you said it, but I was watching this. I think they were down doing something with the storms down with Michael. And this reporter chick, blonde, pretty, she's out in a dark street doing her report, and she's like, oh, and there's a dog behind our cameraman. And on walks a mountain lion into the set. Onto the screen, into the street. Just casually walks by this chick, literally almost rubs up against her leg, and then disappears into the brush behind her. And then it cuts back, and the people in the thing are like, we're pretty sure that's a mountain lion. You need to get in the car.
Can you imagine not? That's
She's
a nice
like,
dog.
She did. She was like, I think there's she's like, some dog just wandered into the camera shot. Oh, well, I'm just going to keep going. And it's just like, it just slowly, I mean, it's in no hurry. It knows I could kill you all. But yeah, it's a great shot.
Each one wants to see the camera.
That's right.
What do you taste like? Hold still. Yeah.
Khajiit has camera if I eat your face. Yes.
He was on the hunt for Dardar.
Dardar. Oh, that's right. He's my favorite. But
I miss Dardar.
yeah, I'm sure he'll be showing up a lot more, especially next year. So role players, brand new off the streets. Where do you start? First, of course, you got to the role playing in an MMORPG is actually, it's fairly simple at its core. You type out shit. You pretend to be a living person living in the virtual world. They got a job, they've got time. When you're not around, they're still there. You pick your story, personality, mannerisms, history, future, blah blah blah. Though after a time, oddly enough, they'll actually start to kind of pick that stuff up themselves. And that's really where you want to get to. But before you can do that, you've got to kind of know the basics. For role playing in an MMO, it is different than D&D because, as Jazz had learned early on, your first character, she said that she had based it all off of D&D stuff, and it was a complete and miserable flop.
Yes.
Because
I had to
it doesn't
rework it
transfer
completely.
over.
No.
It's not a direct transfer. And part of that is it's going to change game to game. Not every game's got different kind of mechanics. Every game's got different lore, different power levels, really. I mean, if you're going to go off the Dragon Ball Z route, the characters in EverQuest compared to that of, say, even ESO, I'd say the EQ2 characters are actually far stronger magically than and can do far more with it than like ESO would allow for. And Final Fantasy is kind of in a middle ground between the two, or actually, it's kind of on the lower end actually, because they can't do nearly as much with their magic. You know, it's there's all sorts of different levels and skill sets that they can do. Then you go to ones that are like the Asian ones where they're, you know, in character and mechanic wise, they're bouncing around everywhere, and they're, you know, you can like Black Desert Online, you know, you can do far more with somebody like that outside of, you know, unrealistic combat with go for the more of the crouching tiger, hidden dragon kind of combat stuff in movements in there than you could get away with in like Elder Scrolls, which is far more based in, you know, more of a realistic movement. You're not jumping rooftop to rooftop like a fucking ninja in, you know, ESO as you could in BDO or some of those other games. So you've really got to know, you know, when you're picking you got to pick your MMO. That's kind of one of the first things, but you just it's one of those, you just got to you got to learn it, you know, for the characters to start to live and breathe on their own. The more they'll get more detailed the longer you go. You know, it's like anything with roleplay. You're writing a story. You know, and authors will tell you all the time that the characters kind of start to get a life of their own. One of the ones I always remember too is I listened to Stephen King talk about when he was writing Gunslinger. And if you've never read the Dark Tower series and you've never read the Gunslinger, you know, spoiler warning, I guess. So for the 20, 30-year-old book, whatever it is now, I'm going to spoil it a little, but there's a part in it when towards the end of the Gunslinger, when he's met this kid named Jake Chambers, and he's chasing down the Man in Black, and they've gone under a mountain, very, very dwarven-like, and they're on a bridge, and something happens, and Jake slips, or the thing starts to give out, and Roland grabs him, and you know, he has the choice of letting this kid go or chasing after his obsession, which is the Man in Black, and he actually drops the kid. You know, and as he's falling, he's, you know, go then, there are other worlds than these, and, you know, kid actually does kind of come back later on. But when he was writing that, he had said that when Roland dropped the kid, he had to actually step away, and that was not what he had expected or wanted to have happen. He actually struggled with making that happen. He tried to undo it, he tried to rewrite it, but it didn't fit the character anymore if he did that. So he had to leave it as it was, as much as he actually writing it hated to do that. So, and of course, he stepped away and then didn't finish writing the series for several more years before he even started a second book. But at that point, the character had a life of its own, and that's kind of what your ultimate goal in roleplay is to do, is to create something along with the people around you that can kind of live and breathe on its own. That's not, you know, how many times have we said, don't play yourself? And that's what you really are after, is to make a character that isn't you at all, that will do
and
say
too
things.
Many people make that mistake. So
Right.
It's very easy to want to have you be the champion of your adventures, and it doesn't work in role play. It's just too slippery of a slope.
Yeah, and like all things, like we've said, you write what you know. You know, there's going to be pieces of you in there. There's going to be things you like, you know, and things you draw from. You know, I don't like chocolate, so a lot of my characters don't like chocolate because, one, it's just such an, you know, I always get so much shit for not liking chocolate that, you know, it's kind of funny when you do it with a character, you know. So, I mean, that's kind of like me, but it's not really, it's just a trope at that point. It's just some little detail. But really, you know, like I said, your ultimate goal is to make a character that's fun for you to play and will also surprise you when, you know, when given situations come up, that it will react in a way that you never would. You know, clearly, hopefully for any of us, we wouldn't drop a kid off of a scaffolding, but
Rengott's wood.
right. Well, depending on the character, if it's a good character, but your character,
fair point.
yeah. But you wouldn't do that, but your character
No.
might exactly, and that's the point.
Totally.
You don't want you don't want to be that person. Hopefully you're grabbing the kid, but that's where you really want to try to get to as both a writer and a role player, because really it's one and the same. If you're role playing, Jazz, what are you doing, for the love of God?
Sorry, I'm trying to type quietly. Somebody asked me a
failing
question.
hard.
I am, apparently.
Very.
Sorry.
It's like, oh my God.
I'm sorry, I'll stop now.
Tell them to shut up, you're doing a show.
I
I
did.
think we should all be required to have silent keyboard.
This is a silent keyboard,
Right, that is.
goddammit.
It's just those
Push the
fingers
talk.
of hers
It's a
are just
wonderful
like, ba,
invention.
ba, ba, ba.
I need to switch to push to talk.
Yep, wonderful invention. In a
Yeah,
wonderful
that's all
I
right.
hate it, though. It's hard for me to remember that I need to push the button down, and then I'm talking and nobody's hearing.
Welcome to my shackles.
Mhm.
Anyway, go ahead.
All right, so
I'll have some wine.
have another drink, you lush.
You know it.
But so how do you get there? How do you make that character that kind of has a life of their own? I know I've had Xanis was always doing things I would never do. Tarvala's kind of the same way. She loves fighting. I think I've been in one fight, and I'm pretty sure it didn't go my way.
Well, I've always used dice, as you know. So
Right. Yeah,
I
you're
roll
weird.
dice and randomize, and only by chance, which is kind of strange, how my characters end up. Usually, each character ends up with one trait of mine. I don't plan that. I just roll dice. So I've always found that kind of funny, that they end up with a trait of mine in that
Yeah.
period of time.
And there are those
Oh.
two different ways to do it. Like,
Yeah. Some
I-
people
I-
just create. In
I
order
just
to
create.
keep it away from me, so that because I know I feel, actually I don't know because I've never done it. I feel that if I didn't roll dice, it would be too easy for me to get too attached to my character. So by rolling, I distance myself and I don't have to worry about that.
yeah, you give up the control of choice.
Right. And the
to the
randomization
dice,
seems
yeah.
to make it A, more fun for me. B, it makes it almost impossible for me to dictate what's going to happen to my characters. And it also gives me distance because it's not really my fault what's happening.
Yeah.
That's convenient.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Just like a Jazz. Takes no responsibility for her actions. It's the dice made me do it. Uh-huh.
It's the dice. This is why you have a daughter now. It's the dice.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I rolled up this story from the get-go. So I just never told anybody. Although I did warn you at one point about a year ago. I said there are aspects of Sully that you don't know.
Yeah.
And
And
that, well, I was alluding to,
She's two halflings
I know.
stacked on top of each other.
yeah.
I've known you long enough as Vodka to know some of your antics.
Hmm. You are so transparent.
No, I like family-based intrigue. I like being related to people secretly. I find it fascinating. I like
She
the
likes
psychology
General
of it.
Hospital in Telemundo.
I did love General Hospital as a child. I
Man.
watched General Hospital until I was in my late teens and I had to actually have a job.
GH.
Oh.
There's nothing wrong with GH. I'm with you on that one, sir.
Oh.
Eduardo.
General Hospital had me, man, until I was in my late teens. So, and then they used to make a digest that would give you the basic rundown of each week. I don't know if it's still published anymore or not, but they used to publish it.
Sometimes those are good references as to separating yourself from the character. If you're basing it off, hey, let me take aspects of this character from General Hospital, let me take aspects from this character, put them together. That's totally not what I would do, but it's totally something they would do, and you can separate yourself from it. So it is valid.
There are lots of ways and valid ways. I mean, some people, every character they have is from some animation you watched, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I would never do that, but
Yeah, you can take
I know some
inspirations
people,
from a lot
every
of
single
places.
character they have comes from some movie or anime that they've watched.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the same problem as people always playing vampires and werewolves. They can't create, so they take what's already there and try to roll with it.
Copy.
Well, but you got to give them credit for at least taking something they know and love and creating a character from that. As long as it's not a cookie cutter copy, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, well, and the thing with being, that's part of the creative process. You have to figure out, if you're going to have, because even non-vampire werewolf characters, they still have, and at least in most games, there's magic and stuff, so they still have that special kind of ability. Excuse me, but a lot of people, it can be hard to be, create something out of the blue. It really is. It is a difficult process. True. So, I mean, almost all of our characters, the inspiration comes from, it may not come from one specific thing, but it gets pulled in from, like Tarvala, she's got bits and pieces of several different characters and personalities all rolled into one person. But I take the inspiration and then I create my own character out of it. Or, I mean, I guess if you want to, you could also say just the different tropes and personalities that you've come across in life or you see on TV and things like that. There are as many different people as there are on Earth. There are that many different personalities and ways of thinking. There's nobody out there when it comes to politics, religion, anything like that. There's no one you're going to ever speak to that if you guys went down a list of 1,000 items that you would agree on all 1,000. Sure. It's just not going to happen. There's always going to be variations and shades of gray and things like that that come about. So and if you have to draw your inspiration from that, if you're, I would say that if you're going in there and you're wanting, like you're going into Final Fantasy 14 and you're going to play a ninja, don't recreate Naruto or Kakashi from the ground up. Everything is exactly the same. Their backstories are all similar. Their attitudes are all the same. That's, and trust me, I've pulled from that stuff. I've pulled like the little bell thing that Kakashi does from the kids in like the first few episodes of Naruto. I've actually done that little exercise, but I wasn't playing as Kakashi. It was just like, hey, that's kind of a funny thing. See if you can get the bells, where we're fighting.
Yeah.
It works out. But, if you have to take your inspirations from somewhere, feel free. Just don't copy paste is really, if you copy from a few different places and you kind of create a compilation or a mishmash.
And to be clear, only Kakashi can pull his mask down and still have a mask on. I'm just saying.
That's right. Somehow.
Love that scene.
A mask under the mask. But, it's where you get your concept from, or if you have to do it kind of like Jazz does, where you come up with something and then you you can roll the yes or no, or maybe the strength of like a personality trait or something like that, which is, it's kind of, I think that's how you do it, isn't it, Jazz? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I start out with kind of a cookie cutter concept. What do I want this character to be? Well, I want her to be kind of a princess who does this, or whatever, kind of a hoity-toity person. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I start rolling. And I say, okay, what kind of concept? I look up, I write down some options for what a princess personality would have. And then I roll my dice and I say, okay, she's going to have this part of this and this part of this. And I just kind of roll her up piece by piece until she's done. And then I role play. And as role play moves along, it dictates who that person is. So when I tell someone I'm leveling my character, for example, to get used to her, what I'm saying is I'm doing the quest and she's answering the quest according to her personality to help me get to know her. And then it slowly solidifies and then I'm ready to RP her.
Yeah. Exactly. So like we said, so we'll go down to kind of a not necessarily like a one top 10 or anything like that, but just kind of a list of things in somewhat order to get to that point. Of course, the very first and most important part is picking a game. Because the thing with this is pretty subjective to people's interests, but one thing you want to be for sure on is you have to enjoy the game itself as well as you like RPing in the world. Very few people can RP or continue to log into an MMO to RP that are bored, frustrated, or even outright have become to dislike the game. Be it the mechanics, the graphics, the lore, whatever. If you don't enjoy the game anymore, you're not going to have the motivation to log in and roleplay anymore. It just...
True.
Some people don't seem to mind. I mean, some people
there are some
5 tunes forever and they seem perfectly content. But if I can't play the game, I'm bored out of my mind.
Right. Well, even that, but those people, they still, I know a lot of people in servants, they haven't played ESO really as a game in quite some time, but they still love the lore. They still like the graphics. There's still enough there that keeps them coming back. But if you've, like I said, if it starts to wear thin on you, or the game doesn't keep your interest, or the lore is, you find out the lore is really shallow, or it's not good, or jazz for you, like the cartoony graphics is always a turn off on your end of things. I'm not getting, we're not getting you to log into, WildStar or WoW or I
had a really hard time with Final Fantasy.
Just because it was very anime-ish, and even though the world was very grim.
I didn't mind.
Detailed.
I got used to the cartooniness of it, but I could not get used to the little rats with the wings or with the halos that floated. Some of the fantastical aspects, whatever they were. Yeah, and I could not get over their absolute insistence that I wear a mini skirt and thigh-high boots.
You hated the Moogles?
I know.
Yes, I hated the Moogles.
For shame.
I hated them. I was
Mogs.
When it first opened up, and you have that first opening scene, and it comes up there. My husband was with me because we were kind of looking at the game together, and he saw my eyebrows go up past my hairline, and he was like, "Uh-oh." So I was like, "Seriously?
That's like
There's a flying muskrat in my game.
That's like hating a cactuar, man.
Halo. I have to look at this." And he was like, baby.
It's not a halo. It's a little poofball antenna.
I don't care what it is.
That's like hating a cactuar. Cactuar and Moogles are the best. Come on, man.
In the now that I'm trying to think of the word, I can't. The chocobos,
Chocobo, gold chocobo.
Got the giant chocobo, the birds, the bird mounts. They're great. It's a staple. It's a video game staple, Jazz. It's a staple.
It's a muskrat with a halo that floats. I do not understand.
But he's got little tiny wings on his shoulders, but he's still able to float.
Ashen.
And he's so floofy.
I don't know how she'd handle seeing the cactuar. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, him and his
his little crazy dance.
His 2D, 3D glory. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's really probably more of a what's the
she's more of a Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah,
fan.
she likes dick sliders and things like that. I know.
Oh no.
I actually like that. Yes, I thought that was a cool thing, but I'm so I was all okay with that. But like in Guild Wars was very cartoony.
She's very more of a carbuncle. Just saying Strophe. She's definitely got the carbuncle in her.
I don't know what that means.
Carbuncle in Final Fantasy, he's a little guy in a robe, and he has a little lantern, and he's got a knife in the other hand, and he can one-shot you. And you are definitely a carbuncle, because you just one-shot our dreams.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, anyway, so I don't mind the cartoony bit. It does have to make sense on some level.
Point of order. This is Rahanar.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Lord. We got Rahanar.
This is, you're talking about a Tonberry, not Carbuncle.
Tonberry.
Carbuncle's a summon. Yeah, Tonberry is a green dude.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a while and I can't remember it because I'm tired. But thank you for correcting me. Now get back to your lair.
Yes, sir.
Which, by the way, that was Rahanar, a call screener. If you want to call into the show and correct me on any other Final Fantasy lore, RPMMORadio.com/Discord. Join our Discord server and jump in the caller waiting room, and Rahanar will be there to service you in any way you need. So floating muskrats. Yeah, there they are, the floating muskrats. They're adorable. Look at them, Jazz. Look at them. So
the Kakatar.
That would be them right there.
That's right, floating Moogles. But yeah, you have to enjoy the game. From the lore standpoint, mechanic standpoint, something has to be able to keep you in there. And to be frank and honest, it won't last forever. No MMO is going to keep somebody forever. At least very few people that aren't like insane. Like I know there's probably still a few people out there playing EQ1 or Ultima Online that have been there since day one, but those people are very few and far between, and they're probably not role players either. They're crazy people, is what they are. They're insane. Sorry, I get distracted easily by pictures. So one of the other thing is people say, that looks aren't everything, and these people are wrong when at least it comes to your character and the way you want them to look. So the second thing, after you pick your MMO, is obviously you're going to... Now, some people will come up with the concept of what they want their character to be and base the looks on that. Some people will come up with the look of the character and then base what they want the character to be based on that. Whatever way you do it, honestly, there's no right or wrong way to do that. Some people just do it differently. I've always for me, it bounces back and forth, but I will say regardless of how you do that, whichever you come up with first, I'm fairly sure there's not a single one of us here that hasn't created a character only to find out they don't like the way it looks, and then you either... If you find out about it late into the game, you're spending money for a character revamp on the look, or you just re-roll a brand new character. I know I've done it several times.
Yeah.
Oh, I've totally done it.
It's fairly common.
Yeah. I mean, after I almost deleted Vodka, I never wanted to play her character the way I rolled her anyway. And when I found out that she was in violation of what I had originally designed, what she became was far cooler. And I'm really glad that I had the help of several people, one of which was who is now known as Quinn in our game now. But I had the help of players to help me fix it. And she actually became a better, cooler, more interesting character than she started out. But I really was ready to just scrap her and start over because I didn't feel like I could play an immortal character, and I don't like that kind of character. So I didn't want to play it. And my husband, of course, because he knows me, dared me that I couldn't do it. He says, "You're right. You probably can't do it. It's okay. We'll just give up the bet now."
I will never forget Ringott's going to the top of her tower while she was about to leave. He was like, Vodka, are you really leaving? I am Ringott's. This is me, and this is what I gotta be. Sprouted her wings and flew away, and Ren's just like,
she'll be back.
I have no idea what just happened, but that just happened.
Bitch will be back.
She'll be back. And she really is a harpy, confirmed.
But yeah. So, but you really...
I remember that.
Are you saying something, Sib?
Oh, I said the picture was pretty.
Yeah, the carbuncle. But yeah, you spend some time on the character creator, especially these days. A lot of them are really getting pretty detailed, and there's a lot you can do. So take the time, get the hair color, the face the way you like it, all that kind of stuff. Thankfully now, more and more, there's ways to alter small things like the hair and stuff like that without having to pay gobs of money. ESO's really good at that. I think... Gosh, I don't remember about Final Fantasy XIV and things like that they may actually require. Some of them require a cash donation, quote unquote, and you have to buy a token to totally revamp it. Like ESO, if you want to change your body type and skin color and things like that, you have to do a character creation token and redo it that way. But at least when it comes to hairstyles, you can just switch them in and out, which is actually kind of a nice thing that more and more of MMOs are doing, which, trust me, back in the old days, whatever you made, you were stuck with till the end of time. Basically, they didn't.
Oh yeah.
There was, I think, EverQuest 1 might have something like that in there now. I mean, though, why would you want to? Because it's still 14 polygons for the entire character. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're happy with the way they look. And of course, then there's the problem of a lot of them that the way it looks inside the creator is not the way it looks when you get to the world's lighting, which is frustrating as fuck. I don't know why so many games have a problem with that one. There's nothing like getting into the game, you finally get it the way you like, and you get in the game, it's like, okay, well, now his hair is like blinding white, and his skin is super luminescent. He went
How did this happen?
Yeah, he went from having gray hair to white hair and having tan to, looking like me with my shirt off in the middle of summer. It's not pretty, and it burns the retinas.
At least, you can see it when you first log in, and then you can go back and change it.
Yeah,
it won't
but
take you very long. You can just delete him.
Yeah, but
From
it's one of those.
Orbit.
Yeah, but sometimes too that you spent so much. That's 2 hours of work or so for some. Like I've known people that spend a lot of time, and then you got to go back in and do the whole thing again. And then if you make it too much one way, it's so dumb. I don't know why
You're just not patient.
just use the game lighting. You're not patient, stupid.
I'm patient. It takes me forever to create my characters.
Yeah, and I did figure out the lighting thing, and then after that, I just remembered to take it down one notch.
Mm-hmm.
Each game is a little different, and you figure out pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in EQ, it wasn't perfect either. They had more of a yellow tint to everything, and so I'd log in, especially in, when they changed the start-off area to that snowy place in Hollis.
Yeah.
And you'd go in there and you're like, and you'd log out immediately.
Yeah, well, and it's like some of the characters, like, hey, what was that? Age of Conan was another one, because when you're doing the character creator, their lighting is orange tinted flames, which is a brilliant idea, guys. And then you get in the game and you see it in the light of day, and it's like, oh, well, you're fucking Donald Trump. Way to go. Okay, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of games. They want it to look like a real place in the world. The problem is when you do it that way and you're using lighting from you're casting a color.
Yeah.
And sunlight is white light. So
right, yeah. Orange filters or fairy fire when it's blue. It's like, yeah, it looks neat, but yeah, can we see what it looks like in daytime? I don't need to see the special effects, jackass.
But don't worry if it takes you a long time to create your character. So what if it does? Have fun with it.
Or if you just hit random until you see something you like. If that's the way you go with it too, go. Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever generates your Mass Effect field.
All right, I'm glad the girls kept with the silence on that one too.
Oh, you comparisons.
Shut up, stupid. Your last game was
For
terrible.
shame.
Go back to Andromeda, nerd.
Never played it.
Yeah, well, that's because it was awful.
are you guys done? Or do we need to have you kiss and make up?
I mean,
I'm watching.
He always teases me with kisses, but he never gives them, so, I ain't holding my breath.
Do you feel neglected?
I am neglected. I'm so neglected.
That's why I don't ever kiss him on the mouth.
I tell you what, man, we talk about going fishing, and he talks all this smack, and then at the end of the day, he throws the fish back.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's because you're a cold fish.
Ooh. Dang.
Okay, boys.
I'm tired.
I'm running out of insults. Quick, change the subject. He might win. All right. So next part of this, before you come up with your concept, you do also need to have at least a minimal understanding of the lore, the time frame of the game, and the content of the game. You can read up on it. Yes.
You can read up on it beforehand if the game has online lore or while playing it. And a lot of that lore can come from actually just playing the game. You learn a lot.
Yes, it can.
You can have an idea of what you want. Did I skip ahead? No. And fix it as you go. Don't get stuck in the mindset that you are married to your first idea. Oh,
or your
yeah.
first or second wife.
That's bad if you think you're married to it, because then you have nightmares about it.
Zib, is there something you want to tell us?
Then you find yourself standing over that nightmare, and you like got a pillow in your hands, and you're like,
"Oh no,
I'm gonna take them out."
I told you guys.
Anyway,
I'm in danger.
No. Anyway,
I believe you, Ashen.
I'm in danger.
I lost my place.
Yeah,
I've seen that Vader mask. Really I know it's real.
You can change it as you go. If it doesn't really solidify until you say it out loud to other people. So don't go around saying it to people till you're ready. Before then, it's all in your head, and you can adjust. That just sounds bad. It's all in your head, and you can adjust according to the new information.
Okay, so was there a reason you had to interrupt me to finish that, or was just
because I haven't felt like I've been talking enough through this episode, so I felt like I needed to talk. I keep getting distracted, so I was trying to just.
Yeah, well, that's what you get when you play video games while you're doing a podcast. You get distracted.
I have no video games up right now. Uh-huh. I have my outline that I just read off. I have what is that? Discord and Twitch up. So yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to be a part of the show.
Well, the good thing is that you read it in such a fluid and just brilliant way that there's no way anybody knew you were just reading that off the top of your head. It's just.
Mm-hmm. Why are you being an ass? Be nice to her.
Because I'm mean. It's what I do. Look
at
her.
That's why I stand over him with a pillow in my hand.
She's trying to smother me with a pillow in my sleep, and I'm the
I
never
aggressor said
here.
That. Did I ever say I'm trying to? I just said I stand over
here.
him with a pillow, crying into it. Sad tears.
Yeah, crying into it while it's covering my face.
No.
Yeah.
No. I never said that.
Yeah.
Sibs.
You know what? Assuming gets.
Sibs, sorry. Would you
makes an ass out of you and me?
Let's Trafay talk. Gosh, rude.
Would you officially say that you remember it differently?
I remember it differently.
There it is.
Officially. Drops the mic and walks away.
You know you two are hilarious, right?
It's shiny over in the corner.
Looks aren't everything, Jess.
She's talking to you.
That's what my answer was. But yes,
anyway.
As I was saying...
Okay.
When you come up with your concepts, yes, you need to know the lore. A lot of places you could kind of learn it outside of the game. Some are definitely better than others on this. But like Jazz was saying, when she like I'm learning to do the quests as my character would. Like it helps get her in the mindset of her character to actually play it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And can I add just one little thing to that?
Wish you would just do it instead of asking permission, but sure, go ahead.
Just remember, everybody's playing through the game. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to, go along that storyline with your character, just remember, you might run into somebody else who's got that same storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yeah, that's why never play the chosen one of the main story quest. That's,
God, no!
Never. Oh my God!
Yeah, and another one too that you don't play main characters. I know there's another podcast out there for Final Fantasy 14. I think Musecast is it, and they're very sweet girls, but they play main characters off of the story, like Nanamo and whatever the Fudoro chick is that is in Limsa Lominsa, but they actually play as those characters from the game, and that's I'm you're welcome to do that if you want. Just don't get upset if people just completely ignore you. In most roleplay communities, it's a weird. They're not on a Balmung server, and I think they've even said one time when they went there and tried to do that stuff, it did not go over well, and people got legitimately angry with them and ignored them. Which is typically what does happen. Now, I don't say they need to be angry with them, but, you don't play an NPC character. You need to come up with something creative on your own.
And I'm going to say this because I see it a lot, and it's usually done badly. And I see many new role players do this. Do not pick an NPC character type.
Yes, thank you so much.
Play it. Because, like, we have a guy right now in ESO who plays a guard. And I'm not saying he doesn't do it badly. That he does it badly, rather. Because he doesn't. But he's expecting people to treat him like a guard and give him all this power.
That's what you're saying.
And you can't ask role players to do that. And they're not going to. Because one of the things that I failed to point out to him was that the guards never come in the bar.
Yeah, they don't hang out in the bar either. Yeah,
they don't come there. They don't walk in here. They don't even walk near the bar. Why? Because they don't want to frickin' deal with the idiots, drunk idiots and drunk nords. They don't want to deal with it, so they don't even come in there.
Well,
so the fact that he's coming in there kind of violates the canon.
Yeah, well, it'd be like, like there's certain venues where like bars and stuff, nightclubs and stuff, where they'll have armed security or a police officer on duty. He's just there if stuff gets out of control, like to a bad point.
Right. He's not there
to police he's not there to police how much you're drinking and what you're saying unless you start, like chucking bottles at people's heads. Then he steps in. But that's,
And this guy is basically trying to enforce Nord law, his own version of it, mind you.
Right.
Not the actual lore-driven law.
Which, given with Nords, is fight
not
away.
Not going to go over well. You're right. He's not enforcing Nord law. He's enforcing Pact law, which he obviously doesn't know very well. And a lot of people are not handling it well. That's not saying. I give the guy props. He doesn't do badly, considering how much confrontation he sees on a regular basis. God mods a little bit. He's obviously new. I'll give him that. But most people need to stay away from that for that reason. If you're trying to put yourself into a position of power, you are asking people, especially if you're a new RPer, to give you props and respect.
That you have not earned.
And like in EQ, we had Pallid Mortis. And as you know, Pallid Mortis and them, they set it up. They talked to the community. They let them know that it was going to happen. And then they started patrolling. They didn't just suddenly start patrolling and demand people respect them.
Right. It's
and
the same.
If he was, and
servants of the temple with the ordinators. Right. It's very simple. But at the same time, we know that if we go out there and there's somebody that wants nothing to do with it, or they're not part of that kind of community, we just kind of brush it off. We move on. We don't sit there and make a big like if when we go to the temple and someone's leaning on the walls, which is a big no-no. You're at in a holy place, you don't lean. But if we try to do that and then they end up blowing us off, we end up blowing them off back. We're just like, all right, we move on. We don't like, hey, you have to respect us. We're ordinators. And this
to add to your point about the bar thing and the guard, don't play a noble unless you've earned it. We've gone over this before. The other night, I went to the Rift. I went up the balcony to go see Ericus's character, Caves. There is a high elf named Rillis the whatever. An heir of
Rillis the Willis.
Rillis but dude, it's one of the leaders of First Hold in Ordon. First of all, I don't think a noble of a city in the Dominion would be hanging out in the packed bar without guards. A. B. You ain't that noble, son. Get over it. And I just looked at Matt and rolled my eyes like, oh gosh. But again, if you roleplay with this guy, he's going to expect you to treat him like the freaking ruler of First Hold.
Right.
And I'm sorry, you're not.
And you can get to that point, but for one, it takes time and it takes patience. There's a lot of people. I know we all saw. Most of us that played Guild Wars 2 saw them. Those people that were playing like the council of whatever that main city was. But they had They had put in a lot of work. It seemed, and the majority of the community really seemed to have accepted it at that point. And if
it was like in EQ2, we accepted Pallid Mortis was the big bad arm of the dictator, and we went along with it, but he also wasn't being stupid. He wasn't saying kissing and giving tickets.
He wasn't god-modding his way through it. And if something came up, he was fairly respectful of stuff like that. And most people played along with it because it was entertaining. And it was
nice to have somebody enforcing the rules. But he would always ask you ahead of time, are you okay with this? And all the guards had to say, "Are you okay with this?"
Yeah, so if you're...
Send you a towel beforehand so that you're, I'm like, sure, go for it. Baka's just going to laugh at you, but go for it. I mean, and I was totally okay with that, but some people aren't, and you can't force them. And in this situation here in ESO, there's like 3 different groups of people that come in there all the time, expect everyone to respect them, even though they're in violation of lore and the canon, and start throwing their weight around. And I understand, and I've watched them, and I think they're all fairly new, or at least new to actual real RP, not just ERP and look at me, I'm a role player. I mean, actual hardcore RP, they're obviously very new at. That you want respect as a role player. You're like, what can I be so that everyone will notice me and like my character, and they want to pay attention to my character. And you think being in law enforcement would do that, but please don't do that.
You've got to have, and you can't. Well, and
don't.
the thing is, you can. You have to have the right in character and OOC attitude. Like if you're going in there, being like that guy is, you're not going to get there. But if you go in there and you're the the cool cop kind of guy, like, hey, you guys know you're not, if it gets crazy, like, it's especially a place like that where it's a Nord-owned bar, which, anybody that knows Nords, they're barbarians, and they're the
pretty much your free-for-all with booze.
Yeah, they're the Asgardians, they're the Vikings, and if something comes, they're the Klingons of ESO. If it comes to 2 of them get drunk and start headbutting each other back and forth in a bet to see which one of them gets knocked out first, you let them. You don't step up. You just you let them, because there's no reason not to.
He tried to give a ticket to somebody who was talking bad about Nords.
Right. See, in ticketing, a ticketing thing,
tickets are just. And then he was like, "Well, you're under arrest. You'll have to come with us."
That's a real world. Well, tickets are kind of a real world concept in a game, in a fantasy time like that. Yes, there'd be fines, but so. You can do it, but you've got to really understand. You've got to understand. Usually, that's something you'd want to do when you have more experience, not something you'd want to do out of the gate, because you're going to frustrate yourself, like that guy probably is getting, where people just laugh him off. Or if someone like me, I'd probably honestly just, if he was making unrealistic demands based off the lore, I'd probably just ignore him. I wouldn't even recognize that he was there. I'd just move on with my life, because I didn't ask for him to come up to me, so I don't really need to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things where you just need to remember, as a new role player, take something. Don't come in as a 3,000-year-old vampire. Start off as just an ordinary citizen living his life
above, or a very talented and skilled magician, or martial artist, or weapons expert, something that can hold its own. An adventurer, basically. Come in as an adventurer, as someone out there that that you guard caravans, or you're whatever. Just you can. There's so many concepts out there, but you have to always start somewhere. But you just remember to learn from your experiences. Not every experience is going to be positive. Most of them probably will be. But if someone gives you honest, that's the difference too. If someone gives you an honest feedback, try to take it to heart. When somebody's really trying to help you, don't, it's going to be easy just to get, turtle up and get defensive, which is what most people react to these days. But maybe give it a shot. Give them a moment and actually think about it for a second, and think of it in this way. Think how, if someone was doing the exact same thing to you on the other side, how would you react to that? And if you would be like, well, I'm not going to let them tell me what to do, well, there you go. Make
a boss of me.
Yeah. And Yudfei said, added note, this that first character you roll up doesn't have to be the end all character. You can totally, you can make practice characters. It's a good, if you start a character and it turns out you don't like it, but you learn stuff and you want to try again. You got multiple character slots, typically. So when it comes to actually creating your character, and you decide what you want to play, are you wanting to play someone that's shifty, greedy, morally strong, or morally flexible? Jazz. Are they looking for love, or have they given up on it? I love you, Jazz.
You're hilarious.
I know. I'm hysterical.
I got him in there.
My mom says I'm cool. What do they do for a living? How did they get where they are? Because remember, they've had a life, they don't just given for you, they just pop into existence. But in the world, they have had to have been doing something before they showed up wherever it is you show up at. Can they use magic? Can they use weapons? Can they use both? Are they good at alchemy, science, history, dumb as a box of rocks? Whatever. There's a lot of things you want to take into consideration when you're creating the character, and that's part of where the copy pasting from various things that like, hey, I like this character. I liked the disheartened soldier from Malcolm Reynolds' aspect, but I also want them to still try to do good like Robin Hood, but they also have a dark past because, I don't know, they killed their goldfish in a fit of rage, stuff like that. You just pull from wherever you can. And I'll just what? Hey, buddy?
No, it's true. You have to pick elements, put them together to actually build a character, and it eventually will take a life of its own and surprise you if you did it right.
What do you mean I'm sounding bubbly, Jazz?
You are cutting out bad, bro.
Am I?
Really?
I don't know.
He sounds like Silent Ashen.
Well, I sound great, so yeah. But
okay, well, I wasn't sure if it was me or it was you because you were kind of bubbly and in and out. So yeah.
I don't know.
It wasn't just you, Jazz. I heard it too.
I don't know.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, it probably sounds fine on the stream because I go directly to the stream. I don't do it over Discord like you guys have to.
It's Discord messing up then.
Probably, but what really matters is that the people couldn't hear me. So there are lots of aspects, and of course, all of these decisions come from knowing the lore and what type of world you're going to be playing in. Because if alchemy is not a thing that exists, you're not going to know alchemy. History and even things like science. We've had that talk before too. You can't be in there like, hey, my DNA says okay. They're still pooping in the streets. They have no idea what DNA is. I'm sorry. They're throwing their urine out in the morning out of a window into the gutter. You're good. They have no idea. they're not quite that. They don't have that kind of technology yet. So you got to take all of that stuff into consideration. The other part is once you get all that taken care of, and and a lot of that stuff will come out to your personality, what you want to play, what you're comfortable with playing. If you're not comfortable with murdering people, probably don't try to play somebody that's morally flexible and an assassin. And at the same time, if for whatever reason, like Jazz, you really enjoy murdering people, a lot of your characters you're going to have at least one that's going to be an assassin. Because she's sick. She's very, very sick. But this helps her not murder other people.
My shrink said the same thing. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, him and I have been talking. He called me the other day. I'm just, you're good. Don't worry about it. He's just worried about you. But yeah, so when you do finally get your concept down, you've got your game, don't actually start until you're ready. You don't have to, just because you've got got it all down, you don't have to jump right into roleplay the second you get in game. You can, give yourself some time. Especially one thing, and this will change depending on if the game is you're there at launch week or month or day to something like ESO or basically all of the MMOs, because not one that's really good has come out recently. But compared to those that are out for a while and the community's already established and things like that, when it comes to a brand new MMO, and you're there right off the bat, most role players, I know when we all jumped into Star Wars: The Old Republic, when we did ESO, Conan, there's There were a few others. I know Rift was another one. A lot of us were there from day one. But the roleplay doesn't really get going right off the bat. Some people will, with their level 1 characters, and they all look like garbage. But for most people, especially when you're there at the beginning, they'll take some time. They'll level up a little bit, get used to the game, get used to the mechanics, get better clothes, so we're not all role-playing in our starting gear. I know in like Star Wars, I think it was at least 2 weeks before
it was
we really
level 20.
started. Yeah,
because you didn't, or was it 10? When did you get your ship? Was
that's right. I think it was 10.
So at 10 is when we started seeing role players, because you really couldn't get away from where you were until then.
And even then, I think you had to go even further because you had to be able to get to Narshada before you could do the cross. I think that was the first cross section planet.
The first planet that you could get to was level 25, 20, maybe it was 20, but you couldn't get there, and that's where all the races, all the people, all the factions could come safely.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it was level based so much as it was there was the MSQ, like it was story, but you had to get there through the story. Like the ship was a level 10.
I think that's true. I think it was 16 to 20 was around the time when you could get
depending
there.
if you did all the side quests and stuff. Yeah. But I know that you were right with the ship. The ship was both, you had to be like level 10 and you had to get through the story quest. But of course, you did the story, you were at that point you were level 10 anyway. So, but but at the same, we were locked out of that. But even with that, like a game like EverQuest 2, when I was there from day one. And there were a few people that had started role-playing in whatever city they were in right off the bat, but most, like 99% of everybody, we went out and we got to know the game because everyone is excited about it. We're MMO players as well as role players, most of us. So we go out and we play the game and we get used to it. And then what ends up happening is you end up role-playing in times when roleplay comes up and you play the game when nothing's going on. Yep. That's how most people do it. There are those people that they'll literally just sit there and role play all day long. I know we have a lot of them in Servants. I think Alana's got a couple of them. But Jazz and Sib and Strophe, they go out and they'll play the game. They go out and collect shit.
When it's boring, I'll go out and level. I mean, it's fun for me. And on your other point, which I couldn't do because I had no internet for a brief period of time, I wanted to touch on what you said about don't worry about role-playing your character right off, or not your first character is going to be the one you end up role-playing on. When we first started Tori, you remember, in beta, and then in the first part of the game, we played smugglers and such. I forget what the name
played
of
a
that
Jedi,
was.
and then I ended up playing a Sith as my
name. And then Eben Hawk took off, and it was kind of all of a sudden they just decided that was it, and we couldn't get transferred, so we rolled new tunes. And I made a Sith just to see what the community was like.
Yeah, because we were on Burgarian Colony or Bergen Colony.
That was it, Burgerin Colony.
Yeah, Burger King Colony.
Yeah, Burger King is what I call it too.
Burger King.
Have it your way.
Yeah, and so they all got left behind.
Yep.
And it wasn't until they allowed transfers that I transferred everybody to Evan, whatever it was.
Hawk.
Evan Hawk. But by then I had established my Sith. And that was not the character that you remember. The one that I originally made wasn't complicated. She was just a simple smuggler.
She was a smuggler, yeah.
It was, and then, they were the most awful class. I picked the worst class to play. They were hard to level, and then they changed them. And they were fun, and so when she switched over, I went back to play her again, and I maxed her out in 2 weeks.
Time, yeah.
Because it was fun. She was fun to play, finally. And it was that, and because I finally learned the mechanics of the game, I think, by playing the other character. And so then I understood what to do, and it was fast. But either way, and then I would play her on the side when things were slow, on the good side. Mm-hmm. When the evil side was busy.
That was one thing Star Wars, the Old Republic had, too, was an amazing quest. The storytelling in it was really, really good. And
the only thing I hated was that the good and the bad side couldn't read each other's emotes. I want to know who came up with that one.
That was
so annoying.
That was or send each other tells.
Yeah, or send each other tells.
Which is another problem with when it comes to MMO RPing, is you're also at the mercy of some stupid developers It's just
well, you sure couldn't SWG, man. Boy,
yeah,
nasty.
yeah. Well, geez, says the player killer. Who would have thought they would get nasty?
I mean, you
The
know,
roleplay murderer.
sometimes people just gotta die. I'm just saying.
And you know, on
Nerds.
in AOC, I started out. We all started out on the PvP roleplay server,
Oof.
and that was hard. Wasn't that
was
hard?
Well,
It wasn't a mistake. I had a good time.
Well, wasn't it? I think it was. Okay, I might be wrong in remembering this, but wasn't that all there was for the roleplay server at first, and later on the PvP RP server?
No,
came
there
around?
was a PvE RP, but nobody went there. Everyone went to the PvP RP server, and I'll have to admit, at that time there were so many trolls back in EQ. You know,
Right.
I was taking a break there. I thought, I like the idea of being able to kill an idiot. So, and so
Good
I
in
went
practice
on there
until you realize there's people that are better at it than you are.
Well, I was really good at it. I didn't have a problem PvPing. I actually enjoyed it in that game, although I think it triggered my PTSD, made it worse. Just twitch. I couldn't harvest or anything without twitching because every little move, yeah.
That was what BDO was like, where people could turn it on and attack you, and it was kind of got like that. But there were consequences for that too.
Yeah, but I originally did that for that reason, and then they changed right after beta ended, and when they opened up the new game in the full game, they said, "Oh, you can't do that in cities anymore." You asshole! That was the only reason we were doing it.
Right.
So that sucked. But I still stayed there for a long time, and I really enjoyed the roleplay there for that reason.
Yeah, and and that comes down to enjoying the game. And unfortunately, right now we're kind of a lull. There are some promising. I think Pantheon actually does have some promise. The more I've looked into it, that New World with Amazon is an interesting concept because it at least takes place in a time period that no MMO is in a place and location. No MMO has really done, which the New World or America is as it used to be. But when we came here and those darn Indians were already on our land.
Careful, buddy.
Right?
Careful.
Am I right?
God.
I remember that too. Elizabeth Warren was there, like, "Hey, this is our stuff."
Oh gosh. Yeah. Her and her, never mind. I ain't getting into that.
I like just triggering everybody. I triggered both you and Jazz, I think, at the same time for totally different reasons.
Yes, you did.
You got me and Sibs about for the same thing, I suspect.
Yeah, but you got to know your games, and don't be in a rush. If you feel like you want to get a good feel for it, and especially if it's established community already, find where the roleplay hubs are, and just observe and pay attention. Jazz did that in the EQ2, as she said several times. She just watched, and then learned. The other part...
I do that in actually every single game I've ever played, even in the PvP RP in Age of Conan, I sat in the main tavern and just watched the community for weeks until somebody noticed my character spying on them, and then they RP'ly drug her off to meet their master. It was actually quite amusing, and it was a lot of fun. And they didn't god mod or anything, I have to say. It was done very well. But it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the roleplay there until it went sideways.
Yeah, which can happen. The other thing, too, is to help you on your roleplay journey, especially starting out, is to find a good RP guild. I don't know how many... we've done episodes on it. We've said it 1,000 times. A good guild or a bad guild can literally make or break your RP and your entire game experience. So choose very wisely. I've told the story about the Shadow Slayers and the douchebag that ran that in EQ2. Excuse me. That he was an ERPer. He was a creepy OOC guy. He was he wasn't a good dude, and he was very... "Oh, I got this. The artist let me use this picture from my character because he was so impressed with what I told him about it." Yeah, sure he did, you jackass. It was all about him, But I was also still fairly new to roleplay at the time. I think I'd only done Matrix Online at that point, and maybe in some Star Wars galaxies as well. But I was still relatively new when I came into EQ2 at that point.
Oh, to have met Ashton in SWG.
Valen Gray, I think was his name. Was a good guy. Terrascasi Master until one day Thanos snapped his fingers and Terrascasi's disappeared across the galaxy.
God,
fuck you.
Dark day. I was Strophe. Irony.
Yeah. And yes, Yunfei also had said in the chat, OMG, don't be afraid to ask questions and absorb advice from older RPers, which is very true. You know, always ask questions. Never, if you start to, especially if you get in a guild, or if you find a roleplay hub, or you've got friends, or an amazing podcast with talented and very smart people with a lot of experience, just ask. We'll answer. You know, if you ever have questions, we have a section on our Discord, roleplay questions. You know, rpmradio.com/Discord. You feel free to ask us questions there. I mean, if you ask it in general, we'll still answer it. But we actually made a special spot just for that, so that people that have questions, whether on their character, how to deal with a situation, this or that you can ask there. And honestly, a lot of the times it gets answered before any of the 4 or 5 of us see it. It gets answered by the community, and you'll
Pretty
get
impressive.
Yeah, and you'll get multiple answers too. You know, you'll get variations on a theme, whichever one might work best for you, given your situation. It's, you know, that is one thing I'll say about the majority of the role players in the community at large, is they are more than happy to share their knowledge. Most people are, you know, when you know a thing, most people are more than glad to be like, hey, look what I know, you know, and be helpful. That's just the general way people go about their business. So yeah, always feel free to do that. If after you've gotten a good guild, which can take, you know, that's like, we've done episodes on that. You'll have to go back. I think there's one called This Guild's for You. It's an early episode as well. Might have to redo that as well. But we've done other ones recently about guilds and how to deal with them and how to find them. So lastly here is, like I was saying earlier, is jump in and observe, but participate. Even if you're just watching, you know, and observing, you can still emote that you're actually doing that. That you're just, you know, that you're sipping your drink, you're looking around the crowd, and you're listening and getting to know what's going on. It's okay. You know, if you have friends already in the game, obviously, hopefully you're already talking to them. You know, hit them up for roleplay first. If not, you find hubs. Often Googling just, you know, insert game or whatever the game's called, roleplay, or game title and roleplay hub. Excuse me, hub. You know, it goes a long way to finding those places if you have no clue about it. If you're going into you know, I do that on most games I start that have multiple servers. I'll be like when I played Final Fantasy XIV, it didn't have an official roleplay server. So I was like, you know, Final Fantasy XIV roleplay server, and boop, Balmung comes up. So, you know, that way, you know, because not all of them actually have official roleplay servers or things like that. Or if you're an ESO, it's a Omega server. So, like, is there roleplay there? There is. But you've also then got to find out where to go in, like, Rift. So, hey there, Kishmas.
Heyo.
Welcome.
How was your trek across the Bering Sea, sir?
Yeah.
Cold.
Oh, see, I told you. There might be some shrinkage when he's doing that.
You did.
That was it. Any good crab? Was the crab fishing good? I know it's difficult in a kayak, but I hear it's.
I was on a plank.
Oh wow! You planked it. You planked across the Bering Sea.
That's what she said.
Well.
Okay, thank you for the silence, everybody.
That was awkward silence.
Yep.
We have no idea what to say to all
I don't
that.
either. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's what she said refers to planking. I mean, are you just laying on top of it and you're sitting there like a teeter-totter, balanced in the middle?
Yeah.
No, there was a role play event.
Oh yeah.
Go on.
Tell us more, Sibs.
Nothing. I'm walking away. I'm walking. My brain is not with it. Okay, my brain.
That's what
It's
she
okay,
said.
darling. We believe in you.
But you have to tell your brain to get jiggy with it.
Get
My
swifty.
It's just jiggy. My brain is just jiggy. It's just sad.
Is that terrible movie with what's her face and Ben Affleck? Jiggy.
That's Geely.
That's sad
I never saw it, but
nobody did. The one person that did is like, guys, don't see that. It's terrible.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
Sorry about that.
That's what she said. And a lot of those places, some of them will actually have, like on the official forums, will have a role player section. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't anymore, and because we're apparently not worth it. Just not worth. Role players just aren't worth the effort. But there are there's always lots of player run hubs. Sometimes you can run into some pretty big egos. A lot of them will at least let
Sometimes.
Well,
sometimes
on the Discord side, we're seeing it a lot more and more. But at least on the hubs and there's enough people are allowed to actually ask questions without
I'm gonna say this because I've been involved in this for a long time.
I'm trying not to scare the newbies off, Jazz.
I'm sorry, but they need to know that the people that run the communities are the biggest egos. They're part of a cool kids club. They're always going to be there, and you need to be ready for that because they believe that they get to make all the rules and you have to do what they say. It's an ego thing. They have no life. They have nothing else that they do with their time until they get bored, and then they move on. And then the community stumbles because they've been relying on these people to run these web pages, and suddenly they're not there anymore. They've moved off to the next piece of candy. So while the hubs are a good thing, and I do think they are, I also think that many times we put too much faith in them and forget that they're just people.
Mm-hmm.
At all. That's all they are. They're just people who maybe have a little more time or a little more willingness to spend the time to run a website
or a podcast.
Yeah. Except we're just once a week, and half the time we forget to even do anything with it. So I'm not sure we count.
No,
what are you talking about, man? We're a well-oiled machine.
We totally have the outline done 15 minutes before the show.
Yeah, that would be my point.
What? That's plenty of time. It could be 5 minutes.
I mean, come on. We needed me to do a spot, and you said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I'll wing it. It'll be fine."
That is true.
You're just telling on yourself at that point.
Yeah,
well, it's just like,
Well, my Russian one last week was that way too. But hey, the Crapco, those I write out because those are hard to do the voice and make shit up at your same time. Crapco. Which, by the way, I actually looked up to see if there was a crapco.com. There is not.
Oh, that's good.
Excellent.
We're free and clear to make our own company, guys. Crapco. But yeah, there can be a lot of egos, but at the same time, those hubs, whether you actually stick around, I've used those hubs to find what the roleplay server is. Doesn't mean I hang around on them. But at the very least, they'll let you know, they'll guide you in the right direction. So, with that, from there, honestly, once you've gone and, picked your game, picked what kind of character you want, learned the lore a little bit, you've done all that, really, you just have to play it. You have to interact, you'll learn, you adapt, and, at the end of it, too, remember that this is supposed to be fucking fun.
No. All business.
Don't let the egos of other people or even your own get in the way of what the whole point of this. It's supposed to be escapism. It's supposed to be enjoyable. Right. It's not meant to be another job.
Yeah, you don't owe anybody anything. When this isn't fun anymore, move on. Don't keep hammering at it thinking that somehow you made a promise to stick around.
Don't make the relationship mistake of both men and women. I can change them. No, you can't, honey. No, you can't.
No. Yeah, there's no changing.
What I did for when I join a new guild, I usually make my characters a little quiet at first. it helps me because it helps me observe what's going on, how they talk and interact with each other, and then usually after like a couple weeks, I start becoming more and more talkative. It just happens. I never really plan it, but it just happens.
Well, yeah, because you don't know the sense, and it's like that with not just a guild, but the roleplay community. Each one has, some of them have lots of snowflakes in them. Others are like, yeah, so fuck that guy, Well, it's they're and then there's always shades in each one of them, but you kind of need to get a feel for them so that one, you're not, you don't come off like a annoying little namby-pamby, and two, that you're not like, so fuck her in the butt, I don't know. I'm trying to be offensive. Was that offensive?
That's pretty offensive.
All right.
Nothing is offensive.
Well, it depends on whether. Never mind. I'm not even
I knew she'd take that bait, Ashton. I knew she'd take it and run with it.
I caught myself.
You're not the only one fishing right now, Jazz. Reeling her in.
You're horrible.
I know. Thank you. But yeah. So, anybody have any last, final advice for any brand new people that are coming fresh off the roleplay train? Maybe they were former grievers or PvPers, for example.
If this is just what I think, if you're a brand new RPer and you're trying to get into a guild, don't make your character have an extremely high ego, because there are lots of guilds out there that have blending issues, and they'll blend and then they won't like you, and then they'll shut you out, and then you're fucked.
No. That's actually, that kind of goes into what we said, your guard guy like that. You have to have a pretty big ego to try to demand people respect you as a guard with no backup.
You have to remember that when you're first starting out in RP, it's important to make a character that isn't shy, that isn't arrogant, that isn't going to isolate themselves. Like you see these people, walks in, sees the crowd, walks to the other side of the bar, sits down and starts reading a book.
Right.
Hoping no one bothers them. And then, 10 minutes later, sighs and leaves alone since no one said anything to them.
Right. Well, you didn't want to be bothered.
It just, and I know this is that a lot of times this goes back into people who have, anxiety issues,
right,
and all of that. And I do get that. But when you are making a character, try not to put those things into your character, because what it's going to do, if your character's an asshole,
especially
and you're
not
totally
your first
okay
character.
with it, yeah. Like, we've talked about some of our characters that were very difficult people, but we also have been doing this a long time.
Do what Kishma said. Go in, be quiet, observe, get the feel of everything, and start develop your character while you're learning the guild.
That's what I did with most of my characters.
Exactly.
Raj.
Don't go in there being mute. Don't go in there being blind. Don't be going there being some special look at me crap. Just get the feel.
I'm not trying to say never make a character with a high ego. I mean, Raj has a pretty damn high ego,
right?
I just didn't start him out as that.
It's not a great for and you can actually develop that over time too. You can start out very humble and very submissive, and then that's what Tarvala was. She was very, very quiet and kind of submissive, and but now she'll fuck you up, But it's an evolution, You can change the character over time.
If you RP with the same people and RP with their characters, you might see some similarities. Like Raj and Tarv have lots of similarities so far, since the beginning of when they've came back to the guild.
Yeah, and Tarvala learned a lot of her evolution came because what she saw in Kishmis's character Roger. She was emulating that, so he directly influenced the way my character kind of turned out, because she had come in, and I mean it wasn't intentional, but because I didn't know him when I joined the guild, I had no idea who he was, but the characters kind of meshed, and she really looked up to him, so she emulated and tried to be the kind of leader and ordinator he was. And so she, in a lot of ways, she is. And now, of course, they're very similar in a lot of their viewpoints, because, of course, they would be. She emulated them, and that can happen too. But that's one of those things where you can have a roadmap in your mind, but you also have to be willing to kind of go with the flow, as your character evolves and develops. Like I said at the very beginning, they get a mind of their own. They go where they go. It wasn't my intention to have her end up like that. It just happened. It just was what took place in the role play.
That's how you evolved, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to get a feel. While you're getting a feel for the guild, you're also focusing on what you're trying to play. Yeah, it's going to come naturally. Just let it flow.
I've always said this. I always go with the flow. I never had a roadmap for Rogier. I never had a roadmap for my Nord, which I won't speak about. But
clearly,
who's run up?
No.
No.
I always improv. I don't like planning what I'm going to say unless I'm actually doing, like, let's say,
an event,
lore class.
Right.
Well, my very first experience in roleplay was improv, and I think that probably colored somewhat what I do in RP and how I like my RP to be as random as possible. And I don't know if you've ever done improv or not, but basically you're given an idea, you're put on stage, and nobody knows what the other person is going to do. You just have to play off each other.
Example, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
That's another. Yeah, exactly. That's a common modern. That's a modern form of improv, and mm-hmm. that is something that I did. We would take characters from Shakespeare, but we would say, "But this is the story. Now go." And then we would act in front of old people and in the streets in the summertime for people. And it was incredible development for me. And then I went to LARP and everything else, and I ended up in roleplay eventually. And that's why I love random RP, even when it's terrible. Because it's random. And I never know what's going to happen, and I get to develop my character.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Tell you what.
She
got that roleplay thing down. I'll tell you what, Brother Ashton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably don't call me Brother Ashton. That sounds like a bit of a clan thing.
I mean,
it's also a monk, dear, and in churches and
yeah, but we're well beyond that.
Oh, so you're like boy, or you're like, lover boys. I don't think that fits, so it works.
Sorry.
Hey, man, it's apples and oranges. Y'all talking about peas and carrots. I'm talking about apples and oranges. I don't know how the peas and the carrots got involved.
Actually, it's more carrots and donuts. But
all I'm saying is it's just her homophobia showing through.
She
can't accept our man love.
She had to bring it to the bad place. You see that, Ashton? Mm-hmm, she's got to pervert it.
Mm-hmm. I am. I'm very perverted.
Just because he calls me daddy when we're not on the air.
Hey, I don't know about all that.
No, it went too far. That was the line you're drawing. Just want to make sure. My Jedi master calling me master, that's good, but that daddy, that's okay. Just checking. Just want to make sure.
One thing is a mystical knight samurai thing with a laser sword. The other thing, I don't know about
okay. Listen, Mark Hamill, you're not allowed to say laser sword anymore. That's you ruined.
Oh, that was terrifying.
You're ruining lightsabers. Call it what it is.
For real though.
Bad writing. That's as Deadpool said. That's just lazy writing. I really would love somebody to edit that in and just like as soon as he says that, pause it. That's just lazy writing, and then start the show up again. It's just.
I mean, it takes away the whole mystique, the depth of that universe with that one freaking line.
Yeah, because that's what your mom called it. Or not your mom, but most people's mom. You're waving around the laser swords. He's out
Obi-Wan.
There. Out there playing.
I have something for you. What's that?
It's your laser sword.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized age. What do you think? You're going to take a laser sword and go save the galaxy from the First Order? Oh, shut up.
Yes, like you did once already, you moron.
Exactly.
But I blame
Ryan Johnson. Just saying.
That's whoever. Yeah, that's bad. Anyway, so anybody else? Any final thoughts?
No,
I think we got it, boss.
All right. Well, if there's any newbie role players listening to this, and you have some, and you've got questions, feel free to write us. Let us know. We'll probably answer them in there, and we probably answer them on the next episode as well. Because it'd be if you've got the question, someone else probably will too. And you guys don't be afraid to ask us stuff. We really are here to help role players and and make it fun and enjoyable and accessible for everybody. I know not all role player people do that. I know our sense of humor might seem like that, but we really do want the more people there are and the more people that do it well, the better off it is for us and into the future. So I don't know why all my stuff just blinked down like that. That was dumb. There we go. Okay, so well, I guess with that, I'll go ahead and start the music and the show.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good time.
All right, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in. RPMMO Radio, episode 65, over twitch.tv/RPMMORadio. Follow us there if you want to listen to it live. If you're listening to it on the podcast right now, after the fact, we always welcome everybody. Give us a little review or something over on iTunes if you're listening to it right now. It'll just take a few moments to do that. We'd appreciate it. Also, remember, if you would like one of our handy-dandy stickers to support the show, patreon.com/RPMMORadio, $5 and above. We will send those out to you. And I want to thank everybody, including my crew, Jazz, Kishma, Sib, and Strophe, Rahanard, our call screener, and Yunfei, moderating the chat. I, of course, am Ashen Phoenix. And, whoops, I knew I forgot to write something. So join us next week when we talk about halflings and why it is they never write their own shit. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Good night, everybody! The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMO Radio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.